Next, I'm going to introduce Elka Kolke, who is the co-founder and member of Wantin Sioux Nation, I've said that right, and the co-founder and coordinator of Awoken Jaguar movement, and she's an activist in the so-called Latin American community.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to say thanks to the sisters who've just spoken. I'd also like to say thanks to Halima and Malia for getting in contact with the Wantin Sioux Nation. Firstly, I will be using terms that a lot of you, probably all of you, haven't heard before. And one of those terms is Nicantlaka, which means indigenous to my continent, now known as the Americas, but originally called Semanoak. And I'll be talking about my people, and my people are now, they now think they're Latin American, they're Latino, they're Latina, and all this stuff. But we are actually the full blood and mixed blood indigenous people of Semanoak. And by mixed blood, I'm referring to those of us who have ancestors who've been raped by the European colonizers, who appear lighter, who don't know their actual indigenous heritage, but we are still indigenous to our continent. And the next slide is just to make it clear. The north is Anahuac and the south is Wantin Sioux, and the whole of my continent, north to south, is Semanoak. So my style is a bit different, and I hope that it's just it's complementary to everything you've heard so far. There is a square in the capital of what is now known as Bolivia. It is called the Plaza Murillo. Just the thought of it fills me with a feeling of immense pride and warmth. I hear children laughing and mujeres de pollera talking in Aymara, one of our original languages. The sweet scent of pasancaya is in the air. Young Nicantlaka indigenous couples are going for a walk with their guaguita, their baby. Elderly men are feeding the pigeons some pan de maíz. Inti, the sun, warms my skin. I see the huipala on the governmental palace, dancing with the Andean breeze. I see the flag of my ancestors. I see my people being led towards liberation. There was a time where the huipala would be nowhere near any governmental building, and the president was a descendant of the European invaders, a criollo. It was during that time that my abuelito, my granddad, and his father went on a day trip to the capital city. His father wanted to show him the square and the governmental palace, but as soon as they arrived, a soldier told them that they were not permitted to be there and they had to go. My abuelito and his ponchito and chulito were sent away by a brainwashed Nicantlaka indigenous brother, restricted from moving around freely on his own ancestral land. It was on that same square that my great warrior ancestors, Bartolina Sisa and Tupac Katari, were killed by the European invaders. Tupac Katari was brutally tortured and executed. His body was chopped into 4 pieces. Bartolina Sisa was savagely tortured, beaten, and repeatedly raped before being beheaded. The heads and limbs of my courageous warrior ancestors were exhibited in various regions as a warning to my people to not dare do the same thing that they did. And what did they do exactly? The magnificent Bartolina Sisa and Tupac Katari, with an army of my ancestors, laid siege to the city of La Paz for 184 days. 10,000 Europeans starved to death. The ones who survived were forced to live off the meat and flesh of their dead children. In another part of my region, my great warrior ancestors, Mikhail Bastidas and Tupac Amaru II, also fought against those pale-skinned pillagers. They, along with an army of my people, spread like a raging fire throughout the land, burning down the homes, businesses, and plantations of the Europeans, killing anyone who got in their way. Their fearless rebellion led them to being viciously murdered by the Europeans. Tupac Amaru's tongue was ripped out of his mouth. His body was chopped into 4 pieces, and he was beheaded. However, before they put him through this cruel death, they forced him to watch the torture and execution of his warrior partner, Mikhail Bastidas. And what were my ancestors fighting for? They were fighting for our people, our land, our lives. They fought for the lives they once knew, lives filled with beauty, knowledge, morality, and dignity. They fought for our Nicantlaka societies, where women and men balanced the universe together, where we complemented one another, creating a beautiful duality. a beautiful duality that has been stolen from us bit by bit since 1492. I can see my female ancestors when I look at the artifacts of Supercaral. I see the participation of my sisters in a city that existed in 5,500 BCE, one of the oldest cities in human history. You see, my people knew of the importance of both man and woman. This is nothing new for us. My people in Tawantinsuyu, under the political state of the Inca, created a society that not only eliminated poverty through the collective hard work of both women and men, we also created two political hierarchies that existed side by side, one made up of my Nicantlaka sisters and one made up of my Nicantlaka brothers. To a colonized eye, it may seem like a division. But in actual fact, the women and men of Tawantinsuyu were two halves of a whole. There was a temple of the moon, panelled entirely in silver, with a Nicantlaka female face on it. There was a temple of the sun, panelled entirely in gold, with a Nicantlaka male face on it. Such creativity in our expressions of duality. My Inca sisters not only fueled political life, but they also preserved our cosmology, archiving it through the weaving of textiles. They were priestesses who would carry out rituals, teaching the younger women our cosmology, passing down the knowledge generation through generation. I can see my Mayan ancestors on murals and sculptures, depictions of matrilineal societies where both men and women were leaders. My Huastec sisters stare back at me whenever I go to the Mexico section in the British Museum of Stolen Goods. My Olmecabuelas defiantly stand beside my Olmecabuelos in sculpture form, a sign that both my female and male ancestors held positions of prestige. This is something that confused European men when they invaded my land. They had just come from a place where women were accused of being witches and burned at the stake when they tried to enter the fields of medicine or education. That is why they always belittle the role of Nicantlaka women in our pre-colonial societies. We are simplified, we are erased from the pages of history. We are not seen as the great Mexica women who played a vital role in warfare, making the weaponry that would be used by our brothers. We are not seen as the doctors who would treat their battle wounds, who would develop the medicinal knowledge of our people as a whole. We are not seen as the scribes, composers, teachers, merchants, litigants, as the students who attended the mandatory education of the Mexica state. When one of my ancestral Nicantlaka sisters would give birth, she would be honored as a warrior. The female obstetrician would recite poetry that spoke of our complex cosmology to the newborn child. The mother and baby would be taken around the city or the village. All the people would come out and show respect to these two warriors. What a way to live, where creation was so highly respected, and us, the ones who continue creation through childbirth, would be revered. Look at how we live now, as a colonized people who have to watch the Europeans completely disrespect our creation, our continent, with their greed. We, the Nicantlaka indigenous people of Simanawak, are currently a colonized people. Myself and my sisters do not belong to a generic woman experience, nor do we need a Eurocentric ideology to help us fight colonialism. Feminism cannot be used as a tool for my people's liberation. It was made by and for the white woman. It was first created because the European woman wanted to play a bigger role in the colonial power structure. They wanted the power, the privilege, the profit, you name it, they wanted it.